Thank you for all being here. This time I'd like to introduce Iman Farid Ansari to give the invocation.
Before I do the opening invocation, I'd like to personally thank the Commissioner and all those present here today. In the spirit of inclusiveness, when Muslims are being marginalized, I'm thankful to God for this opportunity to do the opening invocation. This particular prayer is the most often repeated prayer of the Holy Quran, and it represents the opening. I'd like to first say it to be true to the spirit of it in Arabic, and then I will say it in English. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. With the name of God, the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer, praise and thanks be to God, the Lord and God and the evolver of all the worlds, the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer. He alone do we serve, in his aid do we seek. Show us the straight way, the way upon those whom he has bestowed his favors and his grace, not on the path of those whom wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Representative Joseph Almeida. He'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Nonviolence Pledge. Would you all please rise?
Hello, family. No, you can see me. Hello, family. Let us, where is it? Okay, if we could all face the flag and continue with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In your program that you have, if we could continue on, it's called the Pledge of Nonviolence. It's in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. In honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr.'s life and work, I pledge to do everything that I can to make America and the world a place where equality and justice, freedom and peace will grow and flourish. I pledge to make nonviolence a way of life in my dealings with all people. I will reject all forms of hatred, bigotry, and prejudice, and I will embrace the values of unconditional, universal love, truthfulness, courage, compassion, and dedication that empowered Dr. King. I will dedicate my life to creating the beloved community of Dr. King's dream, where all people can live together as sisters and brothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Now you may be seated. It's my pleasure to introduce the chairperson of the Dr. Martin Luther King State Holiday Commission, Representative Raymond Hull.
Good afternoon and God bless. Good afternoon and welcome, Governor, Speaker, Congressmen, Senators, Mayors, and all elected officials, but most importantly, all of you. Let me start and begin that this is the 30th celebration of the Dr. Martin Luther King State Holiday Commission. and I can't say how great it feels to be here. My name is Representative Raymond Hull from the District 6 of Providence and North Providence. I will also say a few brief words, and I mean brief, and focus on the dream of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The dream of Dr. Martin Luther King has still not been answered, and one might ask, why? Looking around this great country of ours, we still see gun violence in our communities. Unemployment for people of color is high. And poverty, homelessness, and hunger just want to make your head spin. And let's not forget the wealth disparities. Friday of this week, we will witness a transformation of a presidency. We will thank the outgoing president and welcome the new one. And try not to lose and still needed sight of the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who walked upon this earth. I have but 3 quotes to leave you with as we continue this program. And one is, let no one man put you so far low as to hate him. Number 2, love is the only force capable of transforming enemy into a friend. And last but not least, I have dedicated to strike against hate and to give, it's a greater burden to bear. I ask all of you to remember the great late Dr. Martin Luther King in our prayers, in our hearts, but most importantly, how we live our lives from this day forward. This country will pivot, and we will pivot with it. But most importantly, we come together as a community to understand we will do it all together. I say thank you, and I say welcome. But most importantly, we will move forward together. Thank you. I now welcome the governor to come forward to make a few words. Okay. The governor's not here at this time, but she's on her way. And I ask that Doris De Los Angeles please come forward. We're going to move with the essay part of the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. I feel very privileged to shortly be sharing the stage with 2 wonderful students of the Providence Public Schools. For the 2nd year in a row, the State Commission opened an essay contest for the Providence Public School students to asking them to envision a beloved community. To have them envision the role that they see themselves playing in that community. And as Dr. King said, the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men. And you will see those words, you will be transported in those essays that the students composed, because that's what they speak. They speak about hope, they speak about future, they speak about coming together as one. So without further ado, let me announce we have two winners, and the first one is Irene Ramirez. Irene is at Central High School, and I will ask Irene to join me here. And Irene is joined by her family. Irene is joined here by her family, including her mom, Iris Peguero. So I'm going to switch just a bit to Spanish because Iris doesn't speak English, and I need to make sure that she understands the value of her daughter being here. So Iris, muchísimas gracias por el trabajo y la labor que usted ha hecho. El trabajo y los sacrificios pagan. Y usted debe estar muy orgullosa de su hija por la composición que ella sometió en el concurso de Martin Luther King MLK Contest. Así que muchísimas gracias y siéntase muy orgullosa de su hija. Irene.
Growing up in Providence, Rhode Island, I have learned many things. Who I am as a person, how we as humans treat each other, and no matter the differences we may have, we can always get along. I could write all the things we could do to become a beloved community, but the truth is, before we do anything, we must learn two things: respect and compassion. The day we all learn to respect one another, to treat people with the kindness and compassion we would want to be treated with, we will finally get a little closer to our goal. When we finally let the hatred and anger out of our systems and instead replace it with love and happiness, that is when we will become a beloved community. When we stop poisoning ourselves with enmity and animosity and stop fueling this war against each other that just leads to pain and hardship, we will finally become a loving community. If we don't start off by achieving a basic level of love and goodwill towards each other, we will never be able to successfully accomplish our goal. We all come from different backgrounds, being raised to believe in different things. Even so, we can always find a way to come together as a community, as proven in our recent elections. The election divided the country, causing a lot of tension between us. Though some might have rejoiced at this, many did not. It caused a lot of people to question if we were a community that honestly respected and cared for one another. It caused doubt. Still, we managed to pull through and come together to tell one another that it will be all right, that we will stand together and respect one another. We can each individually have a part in improving our community by doing little things. Many people forget that when it comes to helping each other, small gestures make a huge difference. Actions like holding the door for someone, picking up something when someone drops it, saying good morning, thank you, you're welcome, and even hello can help brighten someone's day. And in return, that person can do the same to others, causing a chain reaction of happiness that will improve us. As once said by a wise woman, Angela Davis, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change, I am changing the things I cannot accept. I refuse to accept that as a community we cannot put aside minor differences and become united. I can change this by being one amongst many who will be affable in place of hostile. However, actions speak louder than words. Writing encouragements can help a great deal, but if we don't actually go through it with it, our goal will never be accomplished. I have an immense amount of faith that with the determination of the people, Providence will become the respectable, compassionate, and understanding community that I know we can be. There is no way that overnight this goal will be accomplished, but if we start now, it will be closer than you think.
I would like to invite Mayor Elorza to present the plaque, and we have also citations here from Mayor Elorza, from Congressman Jack Reed, and Congressman Langevin. And, sorry, I dropped the, we have an incentive, a cash incentive for the student. Thank you so much. So next, we have Carlos Pichardo. Carlos is an 8th grader from Nathaniel Green Middle School. Carlos, let me invite you to join me here so that you also have a chance to read your essay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. fought for equal rights for all Americans, regardless of skin color or ethnicity. Even though the Civil Rights Act was passed, racism against ethnicities, even in Providence, many are prejudiced. But as a community, we can change that. Organizing events that highlight the positive aspects of different ethnicities or gatherings that inform people on the misleading stereotypes that affect different cultures could create the beloved community that Dr. King once envisioned. Where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of real peace, the Dalai Lama. The media often portrays different ethnicities as violent by showing only negative actions or actions done by a select group within a community. D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation 100 years ago portrayed black people as violent, sexually aggressive animals and portrayed the Ku Klux Klan as a savior of the people, and this film influenced lives. The KKK actually saw a huge increase in membership following the film, and it was used as a recruiting tool for years henceforth. Films can change the mindset of people. In post 9/11, the media has shown the Muslim religion as one of intolerance, misogyny, and violence. This, however, is far from the truth, as most are peace-loving, and the ones who are violent, intolerant, and misogynistic are extremists following the doctrines of the old. It's much like if Christians follow the sayings of the Old Testament word for word, which held values we as modern people view as barbaric, Christianity would be seen in the same way Islam is. Many other races and ethnicities are seen in a negative way, so we as a community could organize events highlighting the great cultures that different places have in regards to cuisine or history. Negative stereotypes do affect the way people are treated. The times of Jim Crow depicted the black person as a brute, a savage, a simpleton, and an idiot. White actors would paint their face black and draw on grotesque, large lips, and perpetuate a stereotype of buffoonish, lazy, superstitious, cowardless characters who stole, lied pathologically, and mangled the English language. Much in the way Birth of a Nation influenced people's ideas regarding the Ku Klux Klan, blackface created a standard of the black person as a lesser inferior being. People are very much influenced in belief by the rest of the world. Like earlier stated, Islam is seen in a negative light because of stereotypes depicting it in that manner. Besides showing the good aspects of different ethnicities, we could debunk the negative thoughts of a certain culture to create the beloved community Dr. King once spoke about. A child is not born with hatred towards another person. No person is born with prejudice in their heart. They are influenced by the community around them because children are like sponges and absorb customs around them easily. When they hear their parents say an ignorant remark, they mimic the ideology behind it and many times the remark itself. As Nelson Mandela said, people learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Ridding our communities of hate will leave behind a space where everyone, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or nationality, is loved. Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives. Martin Luther King. The qualitative change he spoke about is a change in us as a community's mindset. We cannot be violent in our approach of ending prejudice, but rather peaceful as he was. Maybe with time and hard work, with all of us as a whole, we can create this beloved community and realize this dream. Thank you.
To Carlos Pichardo's family as well, thank you so much for the work and the sacrifices. It pays off. You should be very, very proud of Carlos Pichardo. Thank you. I would like to invite the mayor and the chair of the commission.
That's what makes it all worthwhile. Remember, the commission touches a lot of people, but keeps it alive in the young ones that you just read about. I now turn the program to our governor, Governor Gina Raimondo, to give some brief remarks.
Thank you, Representative Hull. Good evening. Good evening. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I'm honored to be here with all of you, all of my colleagues in government, state officials and federal officials and the mayor. Thank you all for being here, Pastor Baylark and members of the clergy. We're having a great day today. This morning's breakfast was amazing and touching, and for me, refocusing on why we do what we do. I'm honored to be here on Dr. Martin Luther King Day with all of you to celebrate a man who dedicated his life to the quest for equal opportunity for everyone. And quite fitting that it is today, as we are saying goodbye to our nation's first African American president, a man of decency and honor, and one that we will all miss. Following this decisive election, it seems that hate is consistently dominating our daily news cycles. And tonight is an opportunity, as we gather here, to remember that hate and intolerance have never been a part of what makes this country great, and never been a part of what makes this state great. In fact, it's love and faith and tolerance and hope and resilience that have made us great. And these are the values upon which our state has been founded. This morning I talked about economic opportunity, and I revealed a new plan that I am proposing to make sure that every high school student gets 2 free years of college in Rhode Island. Because as Dr. King said, you cannot have, what good is an integrated lunch counter if you don't have the money to buy a hamburger or a cup of coffee? It's about economic equality and opportunity. But this evening I'd like to take just a minute, and Pastor Baylark has asked me to take just a minute to talk about a different issue. Well, not the just a minute part. He told me to talk about this one issue. To talk about the cause of criminal justice and criminal justice reform, which is needed in the state of Rhode Island. Now, I don't have to tell anyone in this community how much it's needed. Rhode Island has the second highest probation rate in the nation. There's over 24,000 people currently on probation, and you all know this has a disproportionate effect on people of color, and particularly on men of color in Rhode Island. 1 in 6 adult black men in Rhode Island are on probation. Last year, I submitted to the legislature a package of bills to bring about a more fair criminal justice system. And I'm asking them again this year to pass those bills. And I'm here to ask you tonight, with your pastor's blessing, for your support to pass those bills. Because it is time that we have criminal justice reform in this state. As a governor, I think a lot about how do we make it so that everybody in Rhode Island has a chance? How do we make it? People don't want a special deal or special treatment. They want a shot. They want a shot and a chance and a level playing field. Well, how are probationers supposed to have a chance when the odds are against them? How are folks supposed to have a chance until we make our criminal justice system more fair and more in line with the rest of the country? So I came before you last year on MLK Day to make this pitch and ask you for your help and your prayers. And I'm here again, making the same pitch and asking you for your help and your prayers. Because if we could learn one thing from Dr. King's legacy, is that we don't give up once, twice, 3 times. We're resilient, we are principled, and we are committed. So thank you for having me here. And I believe in Rhode Island more than I ever have. And I know if we stick together and pray together, our best days are ahead. So God bless and thank you.
Thank you, Governor. At this time, I ask Mount Pleasant High School Choir, led by Daniel Luisi, to come forward and have your theme. Mount Pleasant High School, I truly, truly want to thank you. Truly. Oh, isn't God good? And all the time, God is good. At this time, award presentations. And I ask that Commissioner Clement Cicilline please come forward.
Thank you. And I'd ask my fellow commissioners, Randy Rosebone and Doris De Los Angeles, to join me. Do we have anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, Anna. Anna Moniz-John as well. As they come up to the podium, I just want to mention that ordinarily Commissioner Frank Walker would be overseeing this part of the program. Unfortunately, he is not feeling well. He's got pneumonia, and so he's resting and hopefully getting better. But we want to send out our best wishes to Frank. He's the longest-serving member of the Dr. Martin Luther King Commission. I've been on it 24 years, and he's been on longer than me. So he knows his stuff, and we miss him, and we want to send our best. The first of a series of awards is the Living the Dream Award. This was established several years ago for obvious reasons to honor a person who emulated the work of Dr. King. And this year's award is to Cheryl Robinson. Would you come forward, Cheryl? Now, it's a real honor and a pleasure to present this award to Cheryl. I know her from her good work in Newport especially. And as her bio indicates, she is deeply committed to serving God, her church, her family, and her community. But she also serves her country through her work as an engineer at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Newport. But you don't see Cheryl's name in the headlines, and that's for at least two reasons. One, as you probably will see, she tends to be shy, and she shuns personality. She doesn't like the spotlight at all. But the second reason is that the people that she helps most are on the fringes of society. They're the homeless, the incarcerated, the recently released inmate, people in need of food, shelter, and a job. And Cheryl's there for them, to provide them with direction and support. She's a very kind, compassionate, sincere, and effective advocate. And she believes in the beloved community that Dr. King outlined for us. And she's there all the time to try to get us there. So, as part of the commission, we thank Cheryl for her dedication to the principles of equality and justice, and for living the dream that inspired Dr. King and his work. Cheryl, congratulations.
Thank you. As Mr. Cicilline said, I don't like getting up in front of people. But I do thank the Commission for this honor, and it is my desire that God will let me continue to help those that need it the most. Thanks.
Our next award goes to Harry the Hawk Edmonds. Okay. Harry stood out. Come on up here, Harry. Harry Edmonds stood out as an exceptional athlete from East Providence. During the early 50s, he excelled in basketball, baseball, and football. He went on to URI, and he became an accomplished area golfer in later years. He won the 1993 Boston Open. While Harry was at URI, he was touted as the sensational sophomore from East Providence. Harry is a proud and devoted Native American, and he is a member of the Wampanoag Poconoet tribe and is committed to preserving the culture of the Native American history. And Harry, we're very proud of you in East Providence as well as the state of Rhode Island. Harry has left his footprint all over this great state. I am proud and humbled to present you with special recognition from this commission. Of course we do. And I want to say, Aquane.
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 Aquane means peace be with thee. Aquane. You know, in my Native American culture, when we normally meet someone or greet someone or say see you later to someone, we usually say aho. So can I get a aho from you folks out there? Aho. And I'd like to say aho to our state and federal government representatives here today. Who's running the government today in the state of Rhode Island? I'd like to know. I say to you, Gina Raimondo, Governor, aho. Representative Cicilline, aho. Mayor Loza, aho. And the rest of you dignitaries, aho. I'd like to thank the nominating committee. It's great to be recognized, isn't it? For this recognition, and especially honor Monique John here, who felt that I deserved this recognition. Who am I? I'm the sachem of the Pokanoket Wampanoag Federation. Sachem meaning chief. My other nominations and recognitions was from the Rhode Island State Interscholastic League down at the University of Rhode Island. They honored me for being an all-state basketball player. First team 2 years, from the years 50 to 70s, they honored some of the named ball players of that era. And I was also recognized and honored by East Providence High School, inducted into the East Providence High School Hall of Fame, which I'm very proud of. The other nomination that I received is from the Seacock Pokanoket tribe. They honored my brother and I for keeping our culture alive and well. And here I am today on this special day, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and being recognized by this nominating committee. It's quite an honor. Who are the Pokanokets? Well, let me give you a little history on who they are. You probably haven't heard of Pokanoket. They call us Wampanoag. But after the King Philip's War of 1675-1676, it was a war to save our land. If you said you were Pokanoket at that time, they would cut your head right off. We didn't have civil rights back in those days. But at any rate, we're still here. And I am proud to receive this recognition today. Of course, we all know what Dr. Martin Luther King stood for. The civil rights movement. For all people. Not just for the minorities. For all people. So we thank him for that. And we must carry on with that. We don't know with this new administration that's coming in whether they'll continue with the civil rights movement. Let's hope they do. In closing, I'd like to leave you with this. My connection to my native culture comes off my mother's side, and it comes off a war chief. He was the war chief of the mighty Massasoit, who kept peace with the colonists and settlers for over 40 years until he died. And then the King Philip's War broke out. It was a war to save our land. Well, Anawan was heard to cry out in battle when he was fighting against the settlers. Ayutash! Ayutash! Stand firm and fight. Don't ever give up. So I'd like to leave that with this gathering here today. Ayutash. Let me hear you say Ayutash. Don't ever give up. We say Aho. Aho.
Valerie Tutson, come on down. Woo! Okay. A few weeks ago, the actress Meryl Streep made a few remarks on a TV awards show, and the internet exploded in a discussion, I guess you can call it discussion, about the role of an artist in society. Many, many people took the position that an artist's role is to entertain, to sing, to dance, to act, to do the things that make us feel good about ourselves, but not necessarily think about life and our role in society. Just as many people, I believe, and I believe this strongly, think that an artist's role is to educate, to inform, to open our eyes, to speak truth to power, to engage with their community in an enlightened and heightened way. Valerie Tutson is very much focused on the role that she plays in the community. She certainly entertains us. She's a gifted storyteller. But she is also an amazingly thoughtful artist who helps us learn with the stories that she tells something about ourselves and the community that we live in. So I'm delighted to give this special recognition award to Valerie Tutson, who has made me promise to remind you that Fundafest is still going on. Its big event is next Saturday at the Southside Cultural Center, and you're all supposed to be there. Valerie, congratulations.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Commission. Thank you, my home state. I am humbled. I am honored. And you should know that Funda means to teach and to learn in Zulu and Kiswahili, and that is the reason that we chose the name for our Black Storytelling Celebration. I was only 2 years old when Dr. King was killed. And when my parents got married in 1963, my mom was white, my dad was black, and interracial marriage was illegal in 13 or 17 states. I forget which it was, but, a bunch of them. And when I was in middle school, like around 8th grade, like our speaker, I found this picture, an old yellow newspaper folded up in the Negro Encyclopedia in our shelf in the basement, and it was a picture of the March on Washington, where I got to read all the words of Dr. King's speech. And when I saw all the pictures of the people, I said to my mom and dad, "Were you there?" And my mom said no. And I said, "What do you mean you weren't there? Look at all those people. It was like the biggest thing in the whole wide world." And my mother, Nan Kruger Tutson, may she rest in peace, looked at me and she said, "Val, your dad and I were not there because we were marching every day, just trying to be family." I didn't really get that when I was 13. But when I thought about our Funda Festival happening this week, as we say goodbye to President Obama and welcome in who knows what. I heard that. I was, part of me really wanted to go, but I remembered the words of my mother, and I knew that our storytelling and our teaching and our learning that will be happening in 45 schools all across the state this week and with hundreds of people this weekend is the march that I will continue to do right here in our home. So I thank you very much.
And I have to follow Valerie. The next awardee goes to Reverend Joyce Penfield, and she's receiving the Community Service Award. Oh yes, she's here. Yes! So Reverend Joyce Penfield, her life speaks about those marches that Valerie talked about. The struggle in the village, the struggle in Rhode Island, the struggle that Governor Raimondo spoke about criminal justice system and the need to make the necessary changes on that front, but also speak about faith. And I'm very honored to have the opportunity to present this recognition because we share the same faith, Episcopalian. And also a love for criminal justice system. And so that you can just briefly know who Dr. Penfield is, if you have not yet. She has worked as a priest in charge at St. Peter's and St. Andrews, and a chaplain in Women's Division and Men's Minimum at the Rhode Island Department of Corrections. She's also a co-founder and executive director of the Blessing Way Ministries, an outreach project of the church. 20 years before joining the priesthood, she trained teachers to be more multicultural in their approach to students and content. In the 80s, Joyce became actively involved in human rights work with Central American refugees. She fell in love with the diversity of the parish community of St. Peter's and St. Andrews in his neighborhoods, while visiting as a supply priest in 2004. The parish, the prison chaplaincy, and the outreach project of the Blessing Way Ministries provides her with an opportunity to live out a theology of inclusion through multiculturalism, mission, and the baptismal vow of respecting the dignity of every human being. Thank you.
I have a little allergy to awards as well, so I'll do my best. Since there's so many incredible people here on the days and in the congregation, I want to use this opportunity for doing some action. For me, the statement that God has no people on earth to do things except our hands and feet that we bring is central to my life. It runs through what I choose to do and not to do. And in 1970, when I married an Igbo man during the Biafran War, I stepped into a culture and a way of life that I loved. While I lived in Nigeria, I loved. When I came back with my 3 children, I encountered another life, which many of my brothers and sisters here understand day and night. And as a white woman, it was and has continually been a painful lesson. Carlos mentioned that movies can be negative stereotypes, but I want you to know, and the arts that Valerie brings us helps us to turn that around. I want you to know that there are 3 opportunities, and I want to invite you to go to them if you haven't yet. It's still possible. They are incredible, and they're right here in this state. The Mountaintop, which I took 10 of our residents in the men's housing program that we run for people getting out of prison last week, is incredible at Trinity Repertory. You have to go see it. It's incredibly dynamic. Hidden Figures, which highlights 3 African women that by the grace of God, I don't understand how they weathered what they weathered. They were brilliant. It's a very shocking film. It still has an effect on me because it was in 1961 that this was an experience. And for me, I was blind at that time. It is an incredible movie. It's showing. I suggest you try to see it because everyone needs to have that dynamic. And anything that Mixed Magic Theater is running on Pawtucket, please go and see. My last pitch, Governor Raimondo, when the Justice Reinvestment bills were dumped at the last moment, many of us felt like we were totally betrayed and a sword went through us. They are what we have to help address the injustice that continues for those who have a felony record. Not only are 22,000 supervised, but a whole lot more people have a felony record, and in this state it can never be overturned if there are 2 of them or if any one of them is considered violent. And the outcome of that is our laws have put restrictions on almost every possible profession and type of job except the dirty ones that pay very little and are not always available. For women, it's the worst. For men, they have trades. But for anyone who has education and climbs, it's a disaster. Medical, youth, schools, healthcare, you name it, is closed to them. How they continue to try when we bring them out of prison is amazing to me, but they do. They want to give life to their families. They want to be a mother and a father. And they just need some things that are equal. But right now, they're completely out of balance. The Justice Reinvestment bills can help. It's a step in the right way. And here's what you can do. If you want to go and make sure the legislature hears you, the Senate hears you, you can go on Thursday, the 19th at 4 o'clock and put your name down and testify at the hearing, right in the assembly. You can call your representatives, the senators, all of them, and tell them you want these bills considered, you want these bills passed. 2 of them have to do with victims, at least in the last attempt. So if it's true that all it takes for evil to continue and injustice is good people to do nothing, then I'd suggest maybe you could pick up the phone or find one of our wonderful senators and representatives here on the dais before they get out of here and tell them you want those bills passed. It's at the Senate level. The Senate was very supportive last time. At the representative, it was headed in that direction, but it got detoured. And that can't happen this time. So thank you very much for allowing me.
Yes, good evening. Good evening. They say that we have to be not only hearers of the words, but doers. And also that faith without works is dead. And with that in mind, it is my honor to bring before you Minister Raymond Smith, someone I put his name in because he's under the radar. Most people in the community would never really know about him unless you're in the hood, because he's known as a hood preacher. But he also works with kids at the Alvarez School. And he came to Providence 16 years ago. You can read his about him in the program. But he came here from Chicago 16 years ago. And he certainly has been a positive role model for the dedicated and the disenfranchised. A humble street pastor, as they say here. But that really doesn't tell the story about Brother Ray, as he's affectionately called on the street. During the summer, I was disheartened when I saw something on Facebook about someone that was murdered, a young person that was murdered, and the people that were the perpetrators were desecrating the grave, and they had the audacity to put it on Facebook. So I saw Brother Ray at the midnight basketball down on Plain Street, playing in public, and he's concerned about young people, and he always has been. And one of the things that concerns him is he works with families that don't necessarily go to church. So when someone gets murdered and they need someone to preach a funeral, well, guess who they call? Brother Ray. Because they may not know a formal church, they may not know a formal pastor. So since Brother Ray has been here, he's done about 24, I forgot to count, funerals. Most of them people under 20 years old, in that range. And it's wearing on him. But Brother Ray, we just want you to know that those of us that at the street level that know you, we want to tell you that they that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up as wings as eagles. They should run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So it's my honor to present to you, and give him some support because he needs it, Brother Raymond Smith. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Metz, Senator Metz, Deacon Metz, all above. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the commission. I wanted to say this the first time I received one of these in about 18 years, but that wouldn't be true. I think what it is, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about these things. I'm stuck in the work like most of the rest of us. And I just want to say this real brief. There's a work that we have to continue on all levels, as we've spoken. Senator Metz just mentioned about the neighboring issues on a particular level that deals with our youth. And I want to put forth a challenge for us as a community at large. Be attentive to what our youth are doing. Conjure up some confidence and some courage. And let's shed this spirit of fear about how to address our young people, because they are yearning for some support. And when you take time to speak to them and you hear the heart and the passion and the desires, but the lack of not having enough company is what most of them will say. I'd say 7 out of 10 of them are saying the same thing. So let us get involved. Let us approach some of those, especially, if I could say, those that are plagued with the ill mannerisms of the world. So I want to say that to us as a community, and we're going to be doing some things coming up, I want to say we're trying to take a HBCU trip. Can I just say this real quick? The Historical Black College and University trip, one of the organizations that I help form is 300 Men, and we're trying to take some young people to this historically black college tour. But we're doing it with a different kind of spin. There's no essay you need to write. We're looking to hear the heart and the desires of young people who are desiring to go, who do not have the means, and where it's just like it's like a far-fetched dream. So if you know of any of those people, you can contact us at #300Men and send us some young people that may desire to do that. And then there'll be a block on there where you can come in and support the tour as well. So I want to say thank you to the city and state. Thank everyone here for this acknowledgement, and God bless.
Senator Metz, stay right here.
Well, I have two other hats, but I do want to say that on behalf of the Rhode Island Senate, Senate President Piper Weed, Majority Leader Ruggiero, and Minority Leader Algier, she wanted me to bring greetings from the Senate, and we also have Senator Anna Quesada. Senator, please stand up, and Senator Raptakis that are here. So on behalf of the Senate, and it's an honor for me because the Senate President lets me represent the Senate every year, and we certainly want to bring you greetings from the Rhode Island Senate. Now, with my deacon's hat, they gave me the honor to introduce my pastor. So the first thing I want to say is praise the Lord. This crowd is a little bit quiet. I'm here with my dear friend Reverend Baylock and the Ebenezer family, and this is a Baptist church. So I know we're not at no funeral, and so Pastor, I want to bring greetings, and certainly we appreciate you, we love you, and we want to bring greetings to all the elected officials and the public officials, the guests. The kids were wonderful, the young students, the speeches and the singing. So let's give them a hand. But it's an honor for me. It's an honor for me to introduce Reverend Justin Lester. He hails from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He came to the Congdon Street Baptist Church from Nashville, Tennessee. He's working on us at Congdon Street, and he's a Packers fan, so we're working on him. And he's a Marquette basketball fan, and we're PC fans, so we're working on the pastor, but we're working on each other. But he went to Marquette, and he received his Bachelor of Theology and Marketing. And also at Marquette, he received a Master's in Marketing. Then he went on to Vanderbilt, and he received his Master's in Divinity. And most of his work was in black churches, studying the black churches and reaching millennials. So he's well educated. I do have to say that you can look at the sermons. He live streams them. Not only does he work with the youth on Tuesdays, he has the senior citizens there, and he works with us. So finally, I learned how to work my phone because he's into the technology, and I bought my wife a tablet. So he's into the technology, and he's really doing a wonderful, wonderful job at the Congdon Street Baptist Church. He's newly married. His wife's name is Courtney. He got married in March, and recently they discovered that they're going to be parents, so he's going to be a new father, baby boy. So we're just so happy to have him here as a speaker. And during these times, I can, some of his sermons, this is the time, as Dr. King said, when we have to use a block of hope out of the mountain of despair. And also from Ephesians 3, we also have to be able to realize that we don't put God in a box. Everybody's all depressed, negative. Maybe that's why the crowd is silent. But Christ can do exceedingly and abundantly above what we ask. That's what he's teaching us, and we're going to get out here in this community. And without further ado, the kids sang it, but I think we need to do it. Let's stand up and welcome Reverend Lester, and then we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine.
Those blessed hands together. This is the day the Lord has made, and we make the choice to rejoice. As you take your seats, come on, find two good-looking people and tell them it's good to see you. Come on, find two good-looking people and tell them it's good to see you. Some of y'all ain't talk to nobody. Find two good-looking people and tell them it's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. This certainly is the day the Lord has made, and we make the choice to rejoice and be glad. And allow me to acknowledge a couple of individuals, and we'll jump right into this. First of all, giving all honor and praises to God for who God is, everything God has done, is doing, and continues to do, and privilege us as these moments to celebrate the people that he privileges us to walk with and talk with, and allows us to see someone like Dr. King to live on this earth, and to see the legacy and the dream that he left behind us that we can continue to pursue. To all the elected officials here today, the members of the commission, allow me to especially mention Pastor Baylard, pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, to Deacon Metz, Senator Metz, everything Metz, Deacon's Harold Metz here today, to my lovely wife. Let me say this about Deacon Metz. He's a very, very rare gem. And I think so often I say that, and I joke with Deacon Metz so much, but such a rare gem and a gift to this world and a gift to this state. So if you don't mind, can y'all give it up for Senator Metz, the work you're doing, the consistency that you show. To my lovely wife, Courtney Lester, our unborn child, who's on the way. He already loves his dad. He was kicking me yesterday, and so I'm so excited to be a parent. And to all the sweet members of Cognitive Street, and all of you God's children, good evening, good evening. So as I thought about today, one of the struggles that we face as a people on days like today is what I like to call the paradox of progress. The paradox of progress suggests that when you realize how far you've come, you only realize how far you really still have to go. Think about it, on days like today, it's often so much competition, and what I've noticed so far today on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram is this competition between two generations, because one generation says, we were there, we marched, we did all of this work, but then another generation says, we still see how far we have to go, because whenever you see how far you've come, you start fighting to see how far you still have to go. So one generation saying one generation isn't woke enough. Another generation saying you don't understand what's happening. One generation says you don't get the struggle. Another generation says we have new struggles, because when you see how far you've come, it only shows you how far you still have to go. So we talked about how many bills we still need to pass, more money that we need, the movement that we need, how we need more people to be involved, because how far we've come, we think it's not good enough. How far we've come, we think we haven't done enough. So we spend times on days like this complaining, talking about how much progress we yet still have to make. And so we sit in sacred spaces called sanctuary to honor and to look and reflect upon the life of Dr. King. And Pastor Baylard, I believe, as I read through Dr. King's work, if there's something Dr. King taught us, he said in order to see where we're going, we have to capitalize on right where we are. Being upset that we're not somewhere does not push us where we're going. See, King wasn't great because King was a planner. King was great because he was a doer. King wasn't great because he complained. King was great because he saw options. King wasn't great because he got frustrated. King let that frustration drive him to passion. So don't ever overlook the progress we've made. Consumed with the progress you're trying to make. Because King shows us some of the best stories, some of the best liberative practices, some of the best opportunities of a lifetime are written by people who capitalize on working every single day to do something to make tomorrow matter. So the reason so many of us get caught up is everybody wants to talk about tomorrow, but nobody wants to work today. I wish y'all talk back to me. I got the mic already. You might as well holler back at you, boy. I got a mic up here. I'm an African-American preacher. Y'all do know King was a black preacher too. Because so often we get so caught up on what we're going to do tomorrow, what people failed yesterday, that we miss that work must be done today. I wish you. Prayer must be done today. Fasting must be done today. Work must be done today. And King was successful because King did not always sit there and complain about tomorrow, but King said, I see what's happening tomorrow, but I'm going to do something today. Can somebody say today? He learned that some of the best answers, some of the best quests for knowledge come after you ask some of the most difficult questions. And that on the road to progress, you have to capitalize on what you're called to do today. And so I thought about this. How can I explain this? And God took me to Gospel according to Luke, chapter 10, verses 30 through 34. Listen to a story that I believe you've heard, that we've recited, and you've probably heard 14 times today. Listen to what the Luke narrator said. It says, in reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was. When he saw him, he took pity on him, went to him, bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on him. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I'll reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have. So I get it, right? Luke chapter 10, we talk about the parable, this story of the Good Samaritan. And as Jesus is explaining what it means to be a good neighbor, so often when we hear the story of the Good Samaritan, so many of us, we put our shoulders back and we start smiling because we call ourselves the Good Samaritan. We say that we've done so many good things in the community. We preach a wonderful moment talking about how there's some people who will pass by you, but oh, Justin, I'm the Good Samaritan. I'm the one who cares about the poor. I'm the one who sees those who are oppressed. I'm the one who bandaged someone's wounds and bandaged someone's cuts. And Pastor, we put ourselves as if we're the Good Samaritans. We see the oppressed. We want to help the oppressed. But the fact is, when I read this text, the challenge that Jesus was giving to them, the challenge that King accepted, and the challenge that I give all of you is that, frankly, we aren't the Good Samaritan. So the Good Samaritan is the person he wanted us to be. The Good Samaritan is the attainable goal. But the fact of the matter is, all of us in this room are the man who got beat down. Verse 30 tells us, I'm in the text, verse 30 tells us a Jewish traveler was on his way home, and as he was going down from Jerusalem, the man was robbed and beaten and left half dead. Now, he was doing nothing more than going on this 10-mile journey from Jerusalem to Jericho. And as he was going down, the man was beaten, he was robbed, and he was left half dead. This all happened as the man was going down. The man got beat down on the way down. The man got robbed on the way down. His troubles didn't start until the man was going down. He didn't deal with struggle until the man was going down. And to make this live, he was leaving Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem for the people at that time was a place of peace. He was leaving a place of peace, going down to a place called Jericho. Jericho, we know this from Old Testament literature. Jericho was considered a cursed place. So get the picture. The man is leaving from a place of peace, going down to a cursed place. And as he's leaving a place of peace, going down to a cursed place, the text says the man got beat down on the way down. He travels on a road where people are robbing and mugging people. As he's traveling down on the way down, the man got beat down on the way down. See, Pastor, every time we leave our churches, we're leaving out of Jerusalem. Every time we exit our jobs, we're leaving out of Jerusalem. Every time we leave the state house, we're leaving out of Jerusalem. And my challenge to you is, are you willing to get beat down on the way down so that we can finally begin to shout about the Good Samaritans that are living in our community? Am I talking to anybody in this building? Text challenges us. Can you accept and rejoice in the beat down on the way down? Can you leave some places of peace? Can you leave the state house? Can you leave your church? Pastors, can you take your robes off? Senators, can you take your titles off? And can you risk your life? Because the only way we're going to see the Good Samaritans in our community is when leadership is willing to leave Jerusalem and risk their life and get beat down on the way down. This text suggests to us, and King's life shares with us, that the people we need, the individuals we need most, are not the people who hang out with you in Jerusalem. Because when they see you get beat down, they'll cross over onto the other side. It's not the people who are worshiping with you in Jerusalem, because they're going to cross over you and now think they can mend your cuts. But it's the people that you've overlooked who are going to walk down the street, who are already on assignment to make sure that they'll mend your cuts after you got beat down. See, Pastor King wasn't great because of what he did in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, one Sunday, King got up and told his congregation at Ebenezer that he's giving up pastoring his church so he could pastor something much greater. Because King realized, I can't do work in Jerusalem. I've got to risk my life and get beat down, because there's some Good Samaritans in Pawtucket. There's some Good Samaritans in Central Falls. There's some Good Samaritans on the east side. But if I don't leave College Hill, if I don't leave Newport, if I don't leave downtown Providence, I'll miss the Good Samaritans if I don't get beat down. The work doesn't happen in Jerusalem. The work doesn't happen when you're up on the hill. The work happens when you risk your life and get beat down on the way down. King's example was the people that'll help you, the people that'll mend your wounds, the people who have to hook up in the other city are not the people who are with you in Jerusalem. It's the people who risk your life on the way to Jericho. My question to you, how many Good Samaritans have we missed because we refuse to risk our lives on the way to Jericho? How many people have we overlooked because we love Jerusalem so much? Pastor, I love my robe so much. I love my pulpit so much. Senators, you love your seats so much. You love your titles so much that you refuse to leave Jerusalem. So you have security guards usher you through Jericho because you don't want to get beat down on the way down. Pastor, College Hill is nice. My church is in College Hill. Newport is nice. I love eating in Newport. Martha's Vineyard is nice. Downtown Providence is nice because everybody loves Jerusalem. Nobody wants to go to Jericho. I remember we moved here in August. Deacon Metz mentioned this. We moved in here in August, and my wife and I moved to Central Falls, and so I'm so excited. I finally got my dream job. I'm living in Central Falls. So we come here, and I was meeting randomly in a coffee shop, and someone asked me, Justin, where do you live? And I put my shoulders back. I was so excited. I live in Central Falls, Rhode Island. And the first thing somebody said was, you live in Central Falls? I take off every single Friday. And I found this nice little coffee shop in Pawtucket. I hang out in Pawtucket. I love hanging out in Pawtucket. And somebody said, Justin, why are you hanging out in, Pawtucket? Why are you hanging out in Pawtucket? Excuse me. Why are you hanging out in Pawtucket? And I said, I like this coffee shop in Pawtucket. They said, Justin, why? Pawtucket, there's so much stuff over by Brown. Why don't you go hang out over there? And I realized the reason that so often we miss the great coffee shops and miss the people who are living great lives in Central Falls is because so many of us love living in Lincoln and living in Westerly and living in Providence and living in College Hill and living in Newport that we miss that there's some great people that still live in Central Falls, the ones who voted for you, the ones who can afford to give us your fundraisers. Pastor, it's the people in your church whose tithes don't equal that of the other givers. Leaders, it's the people who aren't educated enough to have that conversation with you, but you'll never know they exist until you risk your life and get beat down and let them show themselves to you, because that's the Good Samaritan that'll push you where you need to be. So when you look at King's life, King was great not because of what he did in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, Pastor, King was great because King hooked up with some Good Samaritans he met when he got beat down. So you know why King's marches were so powerful? It wasn't the pastors that marched with him. It weren't the hundreds of pastors and people that were on the front line with him. But Pastor, it was the thousands of janitors, the people who've been beaten by literacy, poverty, and hunger that walked with King and said, before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Pastor, you know why King was safe when he had firecrackers and bombs on the front doorpost of his house every single night? King didn't stay with other pastors in Atlanta. King had some folk that lived in the ghetto of Atlanta that said, King, Pastor, come stay with us, because King met these people on the way down. The March on Washington wasn't great because all the politicians and leaders there. The March on Washington was great because black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, brown men and brown women, white women and black white men marched together, gay men and gay women, straight men and straight women marched with King and said, we're going to march with power. King wasn't great because of what he did in Jerusalem. King was said, if I die on my way to Jericho, I'll die on my way to Jericho. If they tear me apart on Twitter, tear me apart on Twitter. If they kill me on Facebook, kill me on Facebook. If they kill me in the Providence Journal, because I'm here for such a time as this. Am I talking to anybody in this room? So as I sit here this afternoon, what our community needs are fearless leaders who will risk your life to show us some Good Samaritans. So senators, when you try to pass those bills and the other side is giving you so much opposition and you're fearful that it won't go through, let me tell you something. Risk yourself and get beat down. When Twitter wants to tear you apart, when the Providence Journal tells you that you're inadequate, risk yourself and get beat down. When you sit there and say, we want to make sure every high school student has access to college, risk your life and get beat down, because the good news is there's some Good Samaritans on the east side. There's some Good Samaritans in Central Falls. There's some Good Samaritans in Pawtucket. There's some Good Samaritans downtown. And I wish I had some Good Samaritans in this building that can affirm every politician on this stage and say, if you risk your life, I'll fight for you. If you risk your life, I'll vote for you. If you risk your life, I'll pray for you. If you risk your life, Governor, I'll walk all over you, because I know that God's hand that's on my life will cover your life. Am I talking to anybody in the building that can take 15 seconds and begin to thank God for every politician on this dais? You're not leaving this place. God, cover every person so I can show them there's a Good Samaritan when they go down. Am I talking in this room? Pastor, you said I can holler tonight, right? I'm finished. The Good Samaritan, the good news, the Good Samaritan has been walking with you the whole time. The good news, the Good Samaritan knows where to hook you up in the city. The Good Samaritan knows where to put you so they can't find you. The Good Samaritan knows how to close up your phone so nobody shows you how bad you are. Because the moment you get beat down is the moment you get to see some Good Samaritans in the city. And so I'm going to risk my life and get beat down on the way down. So I wondered how to conclude this, Pastor. I wondered how to conclude this. And he said, I recently graduated from college, and so I love wooden pencils. My mama gave me wooden pencils every single year when I went to school, and so my mom would give me wooden pencils. I love wooden pencils. I love technology, but I love wooden pencils. And so, Pastor, if you've ever sharpened a wooden pencils have a whole process of being sharpened. So I got wooden pencils, Pastor, and I have to put the wooden pencils in a pencil sharpener. Put the wooden pencil in a pencil sharpener. And so when I put the pencil in the pencil sharpener, Pastor, it would rip the pencil. It would tear the pencil. It would break the pencil. I take it out, I blow on it, I put it back in, it would rip the pencil. It would tear the pencil. It would break the pencil. I take it out, blow on it, put it back in. It rips the pencil. It tears the pencil. It breaks the pencil. And somebody say, Justin, how long did you leave the pencil in the sharpener? Pastor, I left it in there until it got the point. I was sharp. And the reason that King lived the way he lived is because when he marched on Washington, they ripped him. I was sharp. When they got rid of Obama, they tore him. But the reason we're still here today is because he got the point. And I'm not talking to anybody in Ebenezer on Martin Luther King's birthday that can help a black preacher, honor a black preacher, and say, God, Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on me.
melt me, mold me, feel me, rip me, tear me, break me, let me march so I can get the point. Is there anybody in the building that can say I'm a work in progress? But rip me, Jesus, rip me on the streets. I'll march down the streets. So my first generation college student will graduate from Brown University. My first generation child will graduate from URI. I wish I had some old folk who could help me shout this evening. Won't he do it? I said, won't he do it? Won't he do it? If you know he will, toss your head back. Open up your mouth. Lift up your voice. Let's have church and let everything that has breath, that wants to be ripped and wants to be torn, say yes.
Let's not stop there. RPM voices, would you please come forward? Please come forward. Let's not stop there. RPM, please come forward. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I asked RPM voices to come forward under the director, Clarence L. Thompson, the director, Clarice, the director, and listen and enjoy this part of the presentation. lose the senator because he's got a flight to catch. But don't move there. We need to hear from our great Senator Jack Green. No, Senator. Okay, then we will have it. Thank you so much. You make the highlight of our night. At this time, Bud Cicilline, please. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all. At this time in the program, a modest change. The individuals, the elected officials who were going to speak have agreed to yield the floor, or so to speak, but each of them had some very welcoming and supportive remarks, but given the schedule, they have yielded, and I think it's a great act of kindness on their part, and I want to thank them all for being so understanding. But that's an indication of how supportive they are, with the commission and its work. So we very much appreciate it. At the same time, I do want to acknowledge their presence and we had to lose Senator Jack Reed. He literally had to get on a plane and left here. Mayor Laws had a similar, I don't know if they're on the same plane, but he had to leave as well. But I also want to mention who is here, and we appreciate them being here. General Treasurer Seth Magazine is here. Congressman from the 2nd District, Jim Langeman is here. Okay. That handsome guy in between is George Garrido. He's a member of the commission. Congressman David Cicilline. We've met Governor Raimondo. Thank you so much, Governor, for coming. Pastor Lester, thank you. Very inspiring. I think all of us were touched by Raymond. Reverend Carl Baylock, our host and friend and supporter and commissioner. Over here is our chairman, Ray Hull, who's been very helpful tonight. Our vice chair is former Representative Maxine Shavers, who helps us every time we meet, and she's there to give us guidance and direction. Almost between, after her is our esteemed Speaker of the House, Nick Mattiello. And you heard from Iman Farid Ansari earlier. Thank you, Iman, for being here. Senator Metz, I think all of us know, all of you know, and thank you for being here. And Secretary of State Nellie Gobert. And I'm not sure I have a very complete list, but Speaker Mattiello asked me to recognize some colleagues from the House of Representatives. So if you just give a wave when I mention your name. Well, earlier we had, he was former chairman of the commission as well. Joe Almeida was here. I don't know if he's still in the room, but thank you, Joe. Representative Mary Messier is here. Mary, thank you for being here. Representative Robert Lancia, he was sitting right there. I remember seeing him. Representative Marcia Rangel-Vessel is here. One of my favorite representatives, Grace Diaz, is here. Thank you, Grace. And the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Joe Shikachi, is here. All right, Joe. I cover them all, Speaker? Okay. And I just want to acknowledge the presence of, I'm going to get a little help here. Oh, I thought Senator Metz recognized the Senate. Senator Casada is here, and Senator Reptakis is here. Okay, thank you. All right, and then the council, Kevin Johnson, is that right? Wilbur Jennings, come on. Come up here. I'm sorry, I live in Newport now.
Councilwoman Carmen Castillo.
Okay. Anybody else that we missed? Thank you.
Council Representative Sue Donovan from Bristol.
Oh, Representative Sue Donovan from Bristol. Okay. And our good friends, A.T. Wall, Director of the Department of Corrections, he's over here. And Reverend Donald Anderson from the Rhode Island Council of Churches is over here. Thank you for being here. I think my work is done, except for the acknowledgements. Did you want?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just. Did you want to?
Yeah. There's one last thing that you have to understand what we're really up against. So I have to really give acknowledgement to my Speaker of the House, Nicholas Mattiello. funding is important. And I say, Speaker, thank you for funding what we do and what we're trying to do. So I had to say that especially to the Speaker, because that's where it counts to get our message out where it needs to. So I had to say that. No, thank you. Thank you.
We're just going to mention just a few other people that we may have not acknowledged before. Oh, of course. Representative Shelby Maldonado. You are here. Where are you? Central Hall. Okay. In kind of closing and wrapping this up before we hear the final musical presentation, we want to say thanks, obviously, to the audience for being here. Many of you have come year after year. We very much appreciate it. So thank you to the audience. All of our speakers, all of our elected officials, all of our awardees that did so much. In particular, I want to say a special thanks to the individuals who received awards for the essay contest. We've just got that started in the last couple of years, and the City of Providence in particular has been very, very supportive, and we appreciate the teachers, the parents, and the students, and particularly Doris De Los Angeles for helping us get this going. Thank you. Our musical groups have been incredible. Our hospitality here at Ebenezer, we very much appreciate. I want to say thanks to Legislative Press and Capitol Television. And the chairman asked me to make sure we said thank you to all the commission members who meet, throughout the year to plan these events. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Reverend Baylock, please come forward. They're ready. And Reverend Baylock, lead us. Next we shall overcome.
All right. We're preparing to leave this mountain, but what a wonderful time it has been. Let us give God praise for His presence in this place in the myriad of ways in which He has graced us. We've had good singing and good preaching. Amen. So it's time to go home now. Amen. Go home and rest and wake up, if God be pleased, to action in the morning. It's a wonderful thing to come and talk, isn't it? And speak and speechify. It's good to do that. It inspires us, makes us feel good. But if that's all we do, we've wasted our time this evening. Unless we put these speeches and words and sermons in action. I want to join in chorus, ever-growing chorus, in affirming our need to pass the Justice Reinvestment Initiative. I don't usually push for too much, but this is past due. If our community is going to become the beloved community, then we have to make sure that there's level footing all across the board. We want to implore the Speaker and the House, the President and the Senate, to go ahead and pass these initiatives. And then we want to implore the governor to sign it. We can do this. We can do this. I believe Dr. King would want us to do that. And if our honoring him means anything, it means honoring that which he would want us to do. Let us stand all over the church. We shall overcome. The Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome. Well, we shall. Oh, we shall. Oh, we shall overcome some. Hand in hand together, hand in hand together. We'll have that. Most gracious and eternal God, our Father, we come now to the close of another day. Thankful indeed for your presence and for the myriad of ways in which you've smiled on us. We beg of you today that you might go before us as a leading light, behind us as a protecting angel. Guide us in the ways of right and righteousness, in the ways of justice and equality. Place our feet firmly in positions whereby we might positively impact those whom you placed in our midst. Guide our feet and hold our hand. Unsettle us until we do that which you've called us to do. Convict us that sin is not only of commission, but omission. And that we will never experience reconciliation with you or with one another until we acknowledge our sin, confess it, beg your forgiveness, and seek to be used of you to improve the scenes and situations and circumstances of life. We thank you for the life of Dr. King. Not only did he teach us, but he showed us by word and example what it means to empty oneself for the betterment of mankind. We pray for the beloved community that it might forever guide us as we work, as we labor, as we struggle. Now, Lord, we're not worried about tomorrow because you've already promised that you're going to take care of us. So, Lord, we just rest in you tonight. And we pray, oh God, that if it's not against your will, wake us early in the morning, wipe from our eyes the sleep of the night. Give us another chance that we might do your will. We pray your blessings upon the food that has been prepared for the nourishment of the body. We pray that it will strengthen us and nurture us, that we might do that which you've called us to do. And now may the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Ghost, be with us now and forever. Might we all say together, we shall overcome. Oh, we shall